Okay. Okay. Welcome. Welcome everybody to hold on a second. I don't know why it's doing that. Maybe it's just me. Okay. All right. Welcome everybody to another episode of Love Language the Roundtable. Pray everybody's having a good week. If it's not snowing where you are, not that the snow is a bad thing, because everything is about balance. But I pray that you're having a good day so far, and that you had a good week. Today's topic is the indivisibility of us. And I started to read the definition, but I thought that would be insulting for those of you who actually understand the King's English and respect it. You probably already know what that word means. So I'm hoping if you use your context clues, for everybody else, if you don't know what that word means, you'll figure it out as we continue. Okay, so I'm gonna read the description. If you want to join on, we are live on Facebook, and we're live on Facebook, and there's a link that you can click on the details portion of the event that shows you how to join, and you can come on live, you can have your face on or your voice, or if you want to put your comments in the live stream, you could do so there as well. And yeah, that's all I want to say about that. Okay, so again, the topic is the indivisibility of us, and the summary says, from the strong, independent Black woman that don't need no man, to bros before hoes, language is everything. One could argue that Black men and women are more divided now than in previous generations. But what is the root of this division? How has the messaging impacted our intimate relationships? And how can we change the narrative to acknowledge the indivisibility of us? And I'm gonna put the questions, as I always do, on the chat if you're on the Zoom link. And we just start with some opening thoughts about the topic. Shema, Isaiah, Zebulon. Okay. Isaiah, here's the order, right? Isaiah, Shema, Zebulon, and Shaul coming on later. And I'll go last if I need to. Cool? Cool. All right, Isaiah. Thank you.
Can somebody give me a thumbs up if I'm not clear or anything like that? Or if I am clear, rather?
No, you sound clear to me.
Great. Opening remarks. This conversation is, in my opinion, definitely linking to the last couple of previous shows that we did. So if y'all haven't watched them, go watch them. Very important topic. Very important. A connection to each other is one of those things where, in my opinion, I feel like we definitely work on.
Yes. There's a lot of background noise.
Yep. I figured. I'm back inside now. Okay. Did the background noise end? Okay, great. Sorry about that. As I was saying, very big conversation for our people. A lot of times we tend to just go at things or stab at things in the dark and forgetting that we have systems built together here to support one another and whatnot. So I'm interested in seeing everybody else's. I really don't have much of an opening statement, just more so Shema is funny. I'm interested in seeing what everybody has to offer. I think this show is going to be really deep when it comes to the solutions aspect, or how to overcome these hurdles. And I'm interested in seeing everybody's platform on what was I guess you could kind of say the straw that broke the camel's back as far as division goes. Because I have some clear ideals of time as far as modern era goes, not looking back at ancient societies. But I'm interested in seeing what everybody else's platform is. So with that being said, I will shimmy on out the way and let the next speaker speak.
Well, shalom. Mishpachah. אני מתפלל שכל בסדר היום. Sorry, man. Look, I knew he was gonna be looking crazy. What I wanted to say, as far as the topic, the indivisibility in us. I think that's how it is. What it's called. We're divided, man. And we talked about this for so many different topics within the show. It's so many differences of opinions and thoughts and perceptions, and that's all great and it's all needed. But I think one of the major things I want to say without going too deep in this opening is the best way to fix that issue, or fix that problem, I believe, is to have key points of structure between the two, man and woman. I think that is important. Differences, perspectives, and all those things are great and can be builded upon, but I think the structure between the two is what's lacking, what's needed for both the man and a woman, and even just the community in itself. So probably gonna sound like a broken record, because it's like with all these different topics, it's only like 3 or 4 or 5 major key components to help correct these issues. It's literally only about 4 or 5 major, and I'm sure us on this panel, those listening, we probably can name at least 3 of them, at the same time. We all be thinking we might have 2 different ones that might be, but I guarantee you it's at least 3 that we all would say. So it's just something I'm seeing, and that's it, man. We need to become this indivisibility. I actually just learned that word from Tamar last week. I've never heard of that word before, but thank you for increasing my English vocabulary. Yes, I did not know that word.
That's not that ain't no real word. That's some Ghostface Raekwon. That ain't real, son. Nah, that's dope though. Indivisibility, no doubt. Gang, and to to camelback off of what Shama just said, I think that's really what it is. It really does boil down to just, he said maybe 4 or 5, but you could probably narrow it down to 2. Let's do that. Let's do like Hillel would do, and let's do like how Yeshua would do it. Like, listen, got all these laws. What is the root of all of this? We inherit concepts, thoughts, and platforms from an enemy source. And then even after we know that it's from an enemy source, we don't do the footwork and put boots to the ground to say, you know what? I know it comes from our enemies. I know it does. No question. Now, why do I continue to perpetuate it after knowing this? Why do I continue to do these things and to push a certain narrative, although I know it derives from the enemy? It's one thing to know it comes from the enemy and don't know how to go about fixing a problem. It's another thing to have the solutions in front of you and still do not move forward and trying to solve it. So I think it really boils down to just a couple. I think it only becomes difficult because we're confusing interpretation and opinions with actual differences. You can have different interpretations and viewpoints on how to go about solving the problem without actually being divided. You can still be in unison, but just have different angles on how to go about it. I mean, the ancient Sanhedrin was proof of that. The house of Shammai, the house of Hillel, they differed on a lot of individual things, but when it came down to we're gonna get this work in, it was like, hey, we're Pharisees, let's go, whatever the case may be, and that's it. And it didn't, and little individual things didn't divide the actual core. But today, I think what happens is, and I think we can kind of, and I'm going to keep this even shorter now. I realize that we're operating on limited time, but I think nowadays, with the advent of social media and everybody having a platform to speak whatever it is that's on their heart, whether it's logical or not, people tend to think that if I differ with you in a detail of something, that we are now completely diametrically opposed to each other, and we can no longer work together for a common cause. And I think that's what we're finding now, of course, in relationships. I learned that early on in my trek in dealing in a relationship and relationships. You realize that a lot of issues that could easily be solved from the very beginning, that could easily just be wiped up, clean, real quick, done. We've created entire platforms where we continue again to perpetuate what the enemy has already planted in us to begin with. So I think it's going to be very interesting. We kind of touch this stuff, touch these areas, probably almost every show we do. We kind of touch on it, and rightly so, because I mean it is love language, and you can't you can't deal with love language without dealing with root issues. So as the brother Isaiah said, I think it's going to be very interesting, to see the platforms being brought forth as usual, because that's what love language does. So with that said, I'm gonna pass the mic in the cipher to Jane Doe.
Thank you. I appreciate the Jane Doe reference.
Yeah. So you know where I was going with that. Okay.
I'm listening to you the whole time. I'm just pressing buttons. But no, I got you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, that Black Star song.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate the little reference. Okay. So I'm going to just give the introduction. Give the the definition real quick. So indivisible just means not divisible or not separable into parts, incapable of being divided, which I love that last part. So it's incapable of being divided. So obviously we're talking about in the title, we're not really divided. And I think too, just to before we get into the set of questions, the construct of division is I don't think it's a new construct, but I think between the genders, I guess we'll get into the root of it, the next question, but it's not normal. Like you don't see animals doing that. Like I think I said last year when I had the birds in my lawn, birds in my backyard, they were in a nest. And for a while, I thought it was the mother who was going back and forth feeding the kids the food, you know what I'm saying? But then I realized that it probably was the husband was probably doing the same thing, because there's a sense of unity and family, and like we're not okay if you're not okay type stuff. Because the birds would come and get the worm and chew it up, and then give it to the baby first, and then later the parent would come back and get, I guess, whatever was left over in the form of poop, I guess, or other stuff. So all that is to say, the animals don't act like we act, and we're supposed to be the most intellectual out of all of them. I want to bring up two things to consider, though. We do talk about conditioning a lot, and I think we would agree that we don't know who we are. Therefore, who can we mimic except for the people that's around us? So, two things to look at later on. There's this thing, for those of you who study psychology, there's this thing called the Stanford Prison Experiment. It happened like in the 60s, I think it was, But this was a group of men, young white men who were, who agreed to be part of a study where one portion would be the prisoners and the other portion would be the prisoner. Maybe the prisoners would be the prison guards. And the experiment was supposed to go on, I think, for 2 weeks, but it ended up going for 6 days. They had to cut it because they were playing their parts too well. So I'm saying all that to say we should also consider, the social construct about what we are expected to be as well, because we feed into that. We feed into expectations all the time. And then also Pavlov's dog, again, the whole conditioning. You hit a tuning fork and now the dog is like salivating, So we could say the same thing with us as a people. We are humans, period. Because I understand, of course, I understand the Black or the African American experience because I am a so-called Black person. But I mean, period, people are, it's a lot of other stuff going on that is indicative of humans, period, where we're not independent like we used to be. We kind of follow the mold and we don't question why we do the things that we do. So I look forward to digging into all of that as it pertains to us. And I'm gonna add on Shaul and see if he has some opening thoughts. I'm not sure who this Galaxy J7 person. I don't know if you want to be on or not. Who knows? Does anybody know who that is? Okay.
Galaxy J7?
Yeah, I don't know if they want to speak or if they just click the link to listen.
Well, that's funny because I actually have a Galaxy J7 as well, but I'm clearly.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
All right. So, Shaul, if you want to say some opening words, if not, we're gonna go to the first question.
Yeah. I wanted to, last week I was on the show when I was made aware of that. Some of the choice words I used was offended, may have offended some people. So trying to always lead by example. The scriptures say you are commanded not to offend one another. So I want to let it be known, for not only the sake of the Most High, but the sake of my brothers and my sisters abroad, that it's my apologies for any rude speech that anyone may have interpreted or perceived as offensive to them. So I just wanted to throw that out there real quick. That's it.
Thank you. I totally forgot about that. I suppose I suppose to allow a pause for us to say something. Shema, did you want to say something?
No, I don't have anything to say. I appreciate him coming on and addressing it. A lot of people wouldn't. This platform is, I know it's a lot of adults in picture and listening in, but we want it ultimately to be for the family as well. So I just want y'all to know he actually reached out to me, about it. So much love to Achi, my brother, for doing that. And we're not trying to change anyone's, way or walk or speech. And he's a good brother, man. I talk to him like every day now. So I just want y'all to know that. But as far as we just want to make sure, just in case it's children in the room for certain shows and all that, that we, just, be mindful. That's all. Be yourself. We don't want you to change who you are. But just if you can, just try to be mindful. And he understood that. And I even told him he didn't have to apologize. But he said, no, I want to lead by example. This is how the Tanakh and the Bible in itself just speaks to these type of issues, not this specific subject, but the concept. And I applaud him for that, man. Great brother.
Okay, cool. So the first question is, what is the root of this division? Again, we're talking about the indivisibility of us. So how do we even get here?
I guess it's on me first. Man, oh man, where do I start? So this whole thing of being divided. I got 7 minutes, right?
That's the rumor.
Okay. probably going to fit it within this time frame. All right, us being divided, man, it's a long lasting situation. I think if I had to put a start as far as modern times, I would say would be the day that we stopped looking towards each other as a community and started looking towards other forms of survival. Perfect prime example would be the moment you can probably even look not too long after the Great Depression, looking at America, not too long after the Great Depression, where a lot of, you can say, government ties started to incorporate themselves within businesses and et cetera. And we as a people decided to still strive for a minute, but we started taking on those concepts as a nation, as a people, as these United States, us as a people directly. I feel once we started taking hold to those government programs that even some of us are still on now, we begin to look at those resources as help, as more so not as help, but a way of living. And we stopped looking towards each other. And that created other systematic issues. And it kind of was like a snowball effect, in my opinion. I would say things stemmed there and got worse as time went on. So time is the big culprit here. And our reluctance to kind of go back to older models of living where it was being interdependent on each other, and we became dependent on outside resources. So I think outside resources being available isn't necessarily an issue. It's when we use them in high amounts to create a system of survival. I'm quite sure I got plenty of time left, but I'm quite sure someone else can explain it way better than I do.
4 minutes and 40 seconds, bro.
4 minutes and 40 seconds? Oh, I'm about to ramble, y'all. Y'all about to get my best rant. No, it was that if we want to look and be real, not too long after we kind of ended segregation, as a people, we really begin to focus elsewhere. When we see major wars like Vietnam, and you see a lot of the men become drafted and enter into wars and situations like that, you also see the woman enter the workforce, which is not a bad thing. But going back even to a topic that was briefly discussed, maybe the show before last, or was that last week's show? I'm not exactly sure. But the brother had brought out, which I know it doesn't necessarily fit, but I'm trying to get somewhere. The brother brought out the difference in wages between men and women. I think there's been a system, or let's say, how can I put? There's been an understanding to divide our people in as many different ways as possible, including earning potential. Some of that is done to ourselves because we sit there and we don't focus on education and things like that. Or there's certain, I think education or understanding education has been pushed towards one gender and not the other, which is also a big reason. Even if you want to go back into slavery, that was kind of our first standpoint. That was kind of our first standpoint of where you see the divide between men and women as far as so-called dark and melanin and black and brown people. We began to be pitted against each other. And I think we've never really, as time progressed, we've never really got back to a point where we could fully be unified. I think we've been unified in many different ways, and we see great examples of unification and leadership. But on a major scale, we've always been dependent on outside focuses, which has in turn kind of crumbled not only our households but our communities as well. Um, I'm going to yield there and I guess let the next speaker go.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. The question is, what is the root of this division? I want to bring something out really quick. Now, this is a concept. This is a commandment. This is something that is, I don't think it's taught fully. I think it is brought out. So I want to start off with the scripture when I bring out the root. And if I was to talk about us as so-called Black women and men today, I do understand the slavery aspect. I do understand the conditioning aspect. You know, you all who've been here for a while know I brought a couple things out, as did the rest of the panelists and other people that listens in. You know, I brought out the slave syndrome. We brought out the influences, all of these things. But what happens past the point when we were actually, not enslaved anymore? We know we have to break the conditioning aspect. We know we have to do all those things. But now we're in an innovation. I think tomorrow would say, or somebody would say, I think it's a stage of information. Like we're in the information stage. I think the root of the division more so is not caring. It's not the conditioning anymore. It's not the not solely the conditioning anymore. It's not solely the government coming in and infiltrating like our women and things of that nature. It's not solely that anymore. It's about more so us caring, comfortability, contentment, and where we are. So one of the roots of the division is not taking heed to the word, in my opinion, and also being scared along with the contentment. And like I said, so I just want to read this real quick. A lot of you are familiar with this. Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah. Look at you. I see you shaking your head, Chief. 29. And I just want to read verses 4 on down just a little bit. It says, thus said Yah, Master of Legions, God or Elohim or El of Israel, to all of the exile who I have exiled from Jerusalem to Babylonia. Now we understand this is speaking on then, but we can use the same concept. We still exile, we still here under captivity, right? Build houses and settle. Let's stop there. How many of us know how to build houses? Not me. I know a little bit of carpentry, but not me. So I'm getting on myself right now, y'all. But this goes into, if you're not knowing let me finish it and I'm going to say what I got to say. Build houses and settle. Plant gardens and eat their produce. How many of us know how to plant gardens? How many of us knows how to do these things? What's the root of our division? This is part of it. We got to go to them. This is not a hate message I'm putting out, but all of them know how to suffice for themselves. A lot of them, most of them. We're the ones that don't, because of the conditioning and having us to believe that we can't move without them. Let's keep going. Take wives and begat sons and daughters. Take wives for your sons and give your daughters to men and let them give birth to sons and daughters. This is speaking of just within the community. In order to do this, me and Shaul, I don't know if you're going to bring us out, we were speaking, it's like, if me and him continue in this path that we on, you know, we know who we are. We know how we stand as far as how we think. This is what Shaul was speaking of. So I know how you raise your household. He knows he knows how I raise my household. In today's society, we don't. Our children just getting with regular people. We ain't even vetting the other families and all that stuff, which we shouldn't even be getting involved with them anyway. Oh, trust me, I know. I'm going through it. So if I know that about Shaul and he knows that about me, now you bring it together two different individuals, but they're in the same family from a standpoint of culture and understanding. The root of division is one of the roots of division is getting involved with people you don't even have a similar culture with, as far as the customs. You know what I'm saying? Like I was talking to someone yesterday about like how my son and my daughter, when they're with me, their culture of their normality of how they operate is different from over at the mothers, the parents. Totally different. You know, so let's keep reading. Well, how many minutes I got left, Aki? 1 minute. Okay, let me just speed up. Okay, so it says, seek the peace of the city to which I have exiled you and pray for it to Yah, for through its peace will you have peace. For thus says Yah, massive legions, God of Israel. So I'm going to stop right there. So I got a minute left. Let me just speak quickly. I believe the divisions lies with those different things. You know, as far as the root, we're not echad, we're not one. We're relying ourselves on other people instead of ourselves. When Yah gave us the prescription of how to sustain yourselves. When you're not able to sustain yourselves, then you start to go elsewhere. And that right there divides you from your people, one, and then divides the mom and the dad as well, because now the mom is so used to the government. It's so many different factors. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to stop because there's more questions, but I think it mostly lies on breaking away from your culture, breaking away from the prescription of your culture to succeed and to sustain. And we already know the conditioning. We already know the influence. That's not the problem. Today, we're in the informational stage, and we're able to find these things out. One of the root reasons is we don't care. We don't care. And with that, I yield.
Okay, indeed. You know, it's funny too, as far as like when we talk about root causes and you know, like you said, like you brought out Shema, as far as, you know, us being in a time where, you know, we know certain things have transpired in the past, but now we're in a current period, and now a certain amount of the burden has to be borne by ourselves. But it kind of also but it also goes right back to what Sister Tamar had brought out, as far as when you're dealing with psychology, and, you know, you're dealing with the issue of the Pavlovian dog experiment and these things. The power of the mind to trick itself is very interesting. How the mind itself can trick itself into thinking something that's detrimental to itself. It's insane. But and I was reminded of in my school years when we used to talk about colonialism in Africa. And colonialism didn't go back as far as a lot of us think it went back, because I think in the beginning the European realized they realized that they could not directly combat the West Africans, the so-called West Africans. They couldn't directly, because there was always a constant challenge. You know, the people would stand up and say, "No, we refuse to accept what you're saying. No, we're not gonna go for what you're trying." It was a constant battle back and forth. And at some point, the European colonialists, or soon-to-be colonialists, they thought of something, and they said, you know, maybe we're going about all of this wrong. And they implemented something that's called, historically now, it's called indirect rule. Because they realized that they themselves could not do the rulership, because when you're able to see the enemy coming, you can prepare for it. So what they did was they took choice West Africans, whether they're Native or Hebrews, whatever they were, took choice West Africans, educated them in their respective schools, or if it was just more of an oral type of presentation, but they were able to get into the minds of the chieftains. They were able to get into the minds of the local princes and and the local warriors or whatever. Get into the minds of these key individuals, and then send them back into the community to set up a self-perpetuating cycle where the European no longer had to say anything. He no longer had to do anything. They could just simply sit back and allow their students, so to speak, to keep perpetuating it. This is kind of like where we're at now. So the effects are still there. It's just that the European, of course, has been able to wash his hands of it and say, hey, we're not doing anything. You are doing it, because we're sitting in the back. All we're going to do is just come and clean up the mess that you created. We'll come in and say, hey, you need to do this. But I say all that just to go back to what you were saying, Shema, and that is that those of us who know this, though, because those of us who don't know, a lot of us have family members who, what we're talking about right now is of no consequence to them. They don't care about the history of this and the history of that. So when they make decisions, you can kind of understand why. Yeah, well, you know what? Yeah, you're jacked up, but we understand why, and you can almost give them a pass in a sense. But those of us who know this history, because this is common knowledge amongst Israel. This is not nothing. I'm not bringing out a new doctrine. All of us know this. The problem is that when you know something, and you know the source of these issues, and you still move in a manner as if you did not know, that's when and I think that goes right back to what you're saying, that's when it becomes a problem, because now it's just a matter of, I don't care. I know what I know. I know that the information that I received tells me that I should not be seeking a division, amongst our people, seeking a division in relationships or whatever the case. My intellect is telling me this, but I don't really care because it's not comfortable for me. And this is, let me see, like 3 minutes. I had a conversation yesterday evening with a relative. I'm not gonna, I don't want to blow them. I'm sure they're watching, but I don't want to blow them up, whatever like that. But I had a conversation with a relative, and we were talking about, and as a matter of fact, me and Isaiah spoke about this earlier, relatives that they know I haven't, I haven't celebrated Christmas since 1987. Like I'm so far removed from that, whatever like that. And to this day, they'll still say, hey, are you gonna come for Christmas? Are you gonna come for Thanksgiving? And like Isaiah said, it's like, why do they keep asking? And they know. I was like, because they don't care. They don't care. They know where you stand. People know where you stand, but at the end of the day, do they actually care? And they don't care because it's not conducive to their comfortability. So when you're having conversations with this person I was talking to, I was like, when you talk about relationships, some people have gotten so comfortable in their dysfunction that when you bring to them possible solutions, they have to go against you. They can't possibly agree with you because you're coming in to upset the comfort. I know how it used to be. I used to be very comfortable in some of my, ways when I was younger, whatever like that. So if someone says, "Hey, man, you can't come, you can't treat women like that. That's wrong, brother." My attitude was like, "Yo, dude, get out of my face," whatever like that, because you're coming in and you're trying to disrupt something that I have accepted for myself. And dysfunction is very easy to accept when you've been conditioned thoroughly enough to embrace it, like Tamar said about the conditioning. We're Pavlovian dogs now. So even though our mind is saying they're not going to give me food, but if I hear the tuning fork, I'm still going to salivate. But I know there's no food, but I'm still going to react as if it is. And this is what a lot of us are doing when it comes to the issue of unity, whether in relationships, friendships, or whatever like that. We know our minds tell us that we're supposed to conduct ourselves with each other in a certain manner, but the comfortability in our witchcraft or the comfortability in our wickedness is going to tell us, nah, no, because to unite with said individuals or to try to establish unity, it's going to disrupt the comfort. And this is a comfort that has lasted for centuries. We've inherited it from our parents, who inherited it from their parents, so on and so forth, or whatever like that. So even when we know better intellectually, it's almost as if there's another force in us that's saying, nah, let's continue the dysfunction. And these are the individuals who, like Shema said, these are the individuals amongst our own who know better. But again, knowing better and doing better is two different things. And doing better takes a lot of work, and that's something that, you know, that we've always had a problem with. You know, is the you know, putting the boots to the ground and saying, you know what, I know this is not going to be comfortable, but let me push forward and let me try to get myself in alignment with these concepts. So not to you know, do too much rambling or whatever, but I think the source, and that's my time, I just think that the source of a lot of this is like we're all saying, that there is there's still psychological damage that has not been that hasn't been fully addressed. But those of us who've already addressed it, we're at a point where it's like, hey man, I've been dysfunctional for so long, so I don't care anymore. Like Shema said, I don't care. Let's keep the dysfunction going. So I just think that a lot of the conditioning, a lot of and I'll probably revisit this concept again, and that is the indirect rule conditioning that I think a lot of us are still falling victim to as we speak. So with that said, I'm going to pass the mic.
I'm sorry. So we still doing the 7 minutes. Shaul, you next. Galaxy J7 Refine. If you want to say something, you have 7 minutes to do so. You could get in after Shaul finishes. So I'm gone.
Shalom, everybody. I hope y'all can hear me right now, but because I know it sounds like it's probably like a little reverb or something on my voice, but
It's real low. If you could just
yeah, can you hear me now?
that's better.
Say it with your chest,
Okay, cool,
bro.
cool.
Say it with your chest.
Oh man, that's crazy. All right. So the question is what is the root of the division of us? Okay. Is this question a question that's geared towards the black husband and the black wife, as well as our entire, you know, race or community or whatever, or is it just one over the other we talking about right now?
No, just period. No, just period. Like, what's the root of the division between
Period.
the black man and black woman? Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So, I would say that that I heard Zebulon mention dang, what did he say? What did you say, Zebulon, about the colonism or something you was talking about in Africa?
The principle of indirect rule.
Yeah, that. And then you know, I think Yashiyahu and Shema touched on some good points as well. But I would say that to add to that, because you guys made good points, is that it's a this term, and Yashiyahu might know about this particular term called totalism. I mean, all you guys might know about totalism, but you know, totalism is one of the major ways that that was used as a root cause for our division over time, which is it has let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 points of totalism, and the first one is called Malleus control, which is technically tactics that control environment and human communication through the use of social pressure and group language. And so the reason why I would answer this question with totalism is because it's been things that has happened to us over a period of time that causes us to divide from each other. But one of the biggest things that was used was integration. Integration is when we really started separating. I think I heard Tamar earlier talk about how we had a certain level of independence and control and power before a certain time period. And everybody, I've heard a bunch of people say this, like, we started to fall when integration came into play, and I would agree with that. You know what I'm saying? And another thing, that causes our division is mystical manipulation or religion. You know what I'm saying? And how that was used during certain time periods to create different denominations and factions within our core, groups that keep us basically arguing with each other all the time. And you can see it even with the Hebrew faith. You can see it now how we basically have denominations. It's either you got to be down with this clique, New Testament, or this clique, Old Testament, or you got to be with this doctrine, or you got to be. There ain't nothing but denominations. You know what I'm saying? So you got these core things. The next thing on the 8 points which is the first was value control, and I encourage everybody that don't know about what totalism is to look it up. Look up the 8 points of totalism, and how they use totalism after integration was by way of television programming and groupthink. So basically, you had to be with a certain demographic. The red and blue states, they separate you like that. Or you got to choose a Republican, you got to choose Democrat. Everything is set up to where you have to choose a side or something. And then when you choose that side, you have to go against those of the opposing side. And so the third point of totalism is the demand of purity. Well, I didn't even read the definition of mystical manipulation. It's basically the claim of divine authority or spiritual advancement that allows the leader to reinterpret events as he or she wishes and makes prophecies and pronouncements at will, all for the purpose of controlling group members. So you got to think about this society. Like, this society was never built on a culture, but in the early buildings of this society, there was a cultural spirit that was here to a degree, which is why, Yeshayahu brought up the women being brought into the workforce, which he was saying he don't believe is a bad thing. And what I would say is, I beg to differ. It is. That's part of the reason for the division between the man and the woman, is because you got these women who are going into a workforce that's dominated by men, very attractive women, very intelligent, very successful in what they do, not taking nothing from these women. However, when you put women in a workplace with a bunch of men, especially if this is a woman that's married, it's only a matter of time before there's a tumultuous, spirit that's going to spring up in her household between her and her husband and her family. So, but that's American culture. But if you go to other countries and other societies that still practice the old way, they try to keep the woman and the man as separate as possible, especially if the woman is married. So that goes with mystical manipulation. Another thing about the mystic manipulation is that do anyone else find it ironic that they would combine slavery with religion or spirituality? And mystical manipulation is another tactic, which they call, narrative or history narrative, where, and that was 7 minutes that quick?
Boy, it went through, didn't it?
That's crazy. Hey, but look though.
I think Hebrews speaking for 7 minutes of the clip is actually unrealistic.
Yeah.
7 minutes.
No, straight up.
But finish your thought, Aki.
Okay, so what I was gonna say next is I'm gonna just go through the points real quick. Is that the third point is the demand for purity, and the demand for purity as a method to motivate members to conform to the ideology of the group, to strive for unattainable perfection and to induce. So this is what I was talking to Tamar about the other day, where I was talking about idealism. Idealism is unrealistic. You know what I'm saying? We have to have realistic expectations, which is what I believe she mentioned when she started talking. And it's a good thing to have, you know what I'm saying? And not try to, it's not about trying to be perfect. It's about implementing certain systems with order. And then through that order is how we start to get closer to perfection. But it shouldn't be necessarily, I'm about to seek perfection, because if you're a perfectionist or you're a person that's an idealist where you just can't move on unless you do this, then you would never progress. The next point is the code of confession. And the code of confession is the exploitation of weaknesses. And you see that all the time when certain things is used against our community to help to reform us or to try to help condition us to think a certain type of way. The next point is sacred science. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 points left. You got sacred science, loading of the language, doctrine over person, and dispensing of existence. I'm not gonna go into all of them because they're extensive, but I would just encourage everybody to look up the forms of totalism. That is how certain things get used against us, because to divide us. And it's not even just a black issue. It's really an American issue, because there's no culture in this country whatsoever. So, but amongst us, it's a lot worse because we don't have a culture, period, at all. We got stuff like hip hop and, you know, sports and stuff like that, but we don't have a culture at all. So now when these other factors come in, now we're even twice as divided as we once were. So I would say if we prospered before integration, which started in 1954 and, you know, basically ended in 1968, anybody ever researched feminism? Feminism started in the second wave of feminism started in the 1960s. You can see exactly how they use certain forms of totalism to combine our integration into the system with the feminist movement. Because when it first started in the late 1800s, there was not enough supporters. It was not enough men, not enough women that were supporting that movement for it to take root. That's why it didn't take root until after we started to integrate into the system. That was another thing. If you want to understand why the black men and the black woman are separate, you know what I'm saying? It's because of that. Because once we integrated, the white women started to get the black women and say, hey, look, since you guys are in the system, why don't you become a part of this movement, because we need equality and all these, you know, all these different terms we like to use. You know what I'm saying? And so they use and I'm pretty sure a lot of people heard of the term Hegelian dialectic, where there's a thesis, antithesis, and a solution to the issue, where basically the factions that bring in the problem also must bring in the solution. So they bring in the problem by way of slickery. Nobody knows who is the issue, who is the person that's problematic or the group that's problematic, and then they blame it on a core group or they blame it on a certain faction, and then they come with the solution and say, see, we have the solutions to this. We have this and this and that and the other. So with that, just to throw out some history on it, I'm gonna yield with it. I know I went over a couple minutes, but that was it. You know, just to throw some history into the question.
Yeah, you missing out on your next turn, Aki. No, I'm playing. I'm kidding, man. I'm kidding.
All right, man, it's cool.
So Galaxy.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah,
Hello?
yeah.
Okay. So, I hear what everybody's saying. I understand the history of I can't pronounce the word divisionation, if you will. it's not even my thought, but my understanding is definitely is of the Bible, Deuteronomy 28, where it talks about how the condition of our people will be. You know, so we have Deuteronomy 28:53. Actually, I could go up to 49. So Deuteronomy 28:49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed, which that's what we are right now. We are destroyed. So we as a people have to get an understanding of how, why, and who did this. Okay, I understand that we look towards the government or the Europeans, white man, what we want to call them. I understand we look towards them and say, hey, they did this to us. They did worse than what the Lord intended for them to do. That's what had happened. So we'll continue on with it, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kind, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. And he shall beseech thee in all thy gates, until thy high and fence walls come down, wherein thou trusteth throughout all thy land. And he shall beseech thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which the Lord thy God has given thee. We don't have a land, so therefore we don't have purity within ourselves as a people. This land that we in right now is definitely another form of Babylon, another form of where we definitely in slavery. We are definitely in captivity. If we look beyond our flesh, we could see the coming together if we all be on the same page spiritually. But since we are separated through religion, as one of my brothers has said, that too is a far-fetched outcome at this point. All we can do, in my opinion, is definitely get more spiritual understanding and understand that the fact that it's the Lord that have us in this state of predicament. I mean, it's in this Bible is our history. It's in the book. We could read about how we are destroyed through it. I mean, we have Hosea 4:6 that says, "My people are destroyed through lack of knowledge." And since they have no knowledge, they can't be a people to me. They cannot be a priest nation. I know I'm paraphrasing, but that's the gist of that passage. And I it saddens me. It saddens me to see our people like that. It saddens me to see the world in itself. I mean, every nation, every tongue. It saddens to see that everybody is in this state where, oh, I'm white, you're black. I make more money than you do. You poor, you're this and you're that. You know what I'm saying? I got this car. Oh, I got all these females, or I got this dude, I got that dude. I shot up people and what is it? What is it? What is you sowing to? Because you're not edifying yourself through all of this. You're not edifying yourself through the flesh. You're not edifying yourself through material things. You know what I'm saying? All this is vanity. We have to look past that. We have to look past what we see before our eyes. We have to look at the bigger picture, the way bigger paint that's there. You know what I'm saying? To paint the whole picture, you definitely have to look beyond your flesh. And like I said, I don't have any too much on history and stuff. One of the things like in America is like the division of the man from the household, mainly in the black families. Somebody mentioned, I think it was my first speaker. I don't know his name, but give me time with that. But brother mentioned about government funding, not government funding, but government, government funding, like public aid, or welfare. Let's see, all of that ties in with the medical care stuff that you receive, being on that and everything. Like in the 1960s, it was definitely a problem. That's what drove the black man out of the home. Systematically drove the black man out of the home. And because she didn't want to lose that money, that help and everything, she said, "Hey, you got to hide in the closet. Take your TV with you." Or he had to get put out the house. He had to do something to be separated from her, so the white man could continue to help her. Then you have sisters that nowadays are got like great jobs, like they get higher paying jobs than brothers do. You know what I'm saying? They make all this money, and they with a man who some people call, hey, he's a good for nothing because he makes less than the money that I do. You know what I'm saying? They get that high mighty thing, which becomes vanity, which is, of course, the power of the flesh. The man, in some states, some dudes don't want to do better for themselves. You know? All I can say is that basically we have to look past our flesh and get ourselves spiritually on board with what the whole thing is. We have to stop blaming other people for our issues. We got to look at ourselves and as a people and figure out from that point what we can do, which the answer, like I said before, it's all about serving the true and righteous God. I mean, there's only one God, one faith, one baptism. So what's so hard about to separating yourself from those religions and everything? I see that's my time, so I yield.
Yeah, thank you for contributing. Definitely appreciate you bringing the book out, and we try to. This platform is originally intended to be broad so that we could reach those who, so that we wouldn't be divisive in our reach. So if that can be understood, so we really appreciate you bringing that out as well. And I won't say too much, but there's this. I might already mention it, but I cannot find it. Like I was in a laundromat when I heard this this report. It's on the TV, whatever. It was like a news report talking about why I think millennials are leaving the church. But what I found interesting about the news report is that one of the reasons is because outside of social pressure, right? So we could say maybe in our parents' generation or generation before that, people were still going to church. You know what I'm saying? They still was expected to act a certain way, to dress a certain way, to be a certain way. And so now a lot of people are not going to church because, one of the reasons is that, basically what's the point? So outside of any kind of spiritual understanding, even the basic needs, the government is doing that. So, I mean, you could go to church and get some help, but how often is that even possible? And people have a lot of pushback with the church on that. They say, it's just going to the pastor's pockets or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So the reason why I'm bringing that up is because, obviously there's something wrong with us where we're not even, our basic needs are not getting taken care of in a way that promotes community, right? So if I could, be by myself and have some kids and not have a man around, I'm gonna still get taken care of. Like that's a good thing. I'm not against it. I think that's a great thing because somebody got to fill in the gap, right? So I'm sure that I know this question again. The question is, what's the root of the division? There is a root, but I mean, if you look at history, there is no one thread that comes to it. I mean, there's other things that fit into a much larger issue, which those of us on here, we know the root of it, and the brother just kind of alluded to it. You know what I'm saying? It's and even if you don't believe in the Bible, right? This is my perspective and my strategy now that I'm older, and I'm learning how to be, you know, how to look at things differently as far as your approach. So we could tell the black man and woman, you know, the answer's in the Bible. All you gotta do is read the Bible. It's right there. But then that's making it so simple, because people know that that drinking pop is bad, or soda. People know that that's not good for you. Nobody will ever say, yeah, it's healthy, right? So we know these things, but then we don't do it because we don't feel any immediate impact from it. We don't believe stuff like that because it's not, like Zebulon said, it's not comfortable. I mean, I could put the pop down, but my body calling for it. You know what I'm saying? I'm tweaking at 3 o'clock in the afternoon because I'm like, where's the pop? You know, so people can know things and still not do it until you are convinced within yourself. This is beyond the Bible. This is any kind of strategy you think. Let's just say right now we gave you an answer, right? Unless you believe it's better than the way you've been doing things, it's not gonna work. So the issue is us. It's the internal, like Shema said earlier, like we the problem, because you could give us the solution, whether man-made or whether the answer is Yah in the Torah, which I believe that the answer is the Torah, period. For everybody, not just black people, for everybody, the answer is in the Torah. But until we feel like that's the way to be, we're gonna continue to struggle. It's depressing because everything that we do in this world, especially in this country, the world is dying. The world is literally dying. We don't treat it right. We don't know how to let it rest. We're creating products right now that, like with plastic, if you have a plastic bottle, you know that joint would never break down. So we are killing ourselves. And the answer is really simple, but again, unless we're ready to take a close look at the solution, it really don't matter. But I'm hoping those who want to answer, you know, stay with us a little longer and add your thoughts as well. If you have any thoughts about how we could get past all this division, and we always welcome that, whether you live on Facebook or if you want to get on the Zoom link. So the next question is, how has this messaging impacted our intimate relationships? So the division. So again, how has this messaging impacted our intimate relationships?
Oh, my bad. I'm so used to going first. My fault. Go ahead.
Go right on ahead, my
I actually want to go first though.
I don't. I'm so used to every week you got me first. So my bad. Go ahead.
Oh.
Well, I think it's only right that you do kind of go first. I mean,
Yeah, this is your platform.
You are Shama.
Shama. I'm sorry. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Shema, mute yourself, man. I'm trying to talk. Oh, no, I'm just joking. All right, so what was the question? I done got sidetracked. Okay. How can how this is very interesting. Did my time start already? I don't need all of that time anyway. I'm not real talkative right now. So taking everybody's viewpoint into consideration here, because everybody says some pretty powerful things, and as Tamar mentioned, it's not just one thread. It's kind of all of these things happening in different time periods and different standpoints, and you know, I guess if you want to say, ideally speaking, you know, we hold the Torah to a high standard, at least the majority of the people, or all of the people on this platform, at least. So we would say there lies your answer. Within that understanding that, you know, I think for the most part, I think we all view this. I don't want to speak for everybody, so I'm just going to speak for myself. I view the Torah as being perfect. Torah meaning the laws, meaning the first 5 books of the Bible. That's the idealistic approach. That's the ultimate aspect of being perfect, right? Following that in its totality, if I didn't butcher that word. I think when we remove ourselves from that standpoint, that's where we have a few issues. As far as all of that stuff impacting relationships, it does two things. The very thing that we're talking about here is that wedge that's driven between people. That us taking or looking at outside, as we say these things are eternal, us looking outside to say those issues are more important than what's going on with my other half, whether it be a husband or respectfully, whatever relationship you're dealing with, you and that other person, that man and that woman, and our families are in our communities. We see a lot of single parent households, which I made a point about governing assistance programs. Not that they are an issue in this whole, it's the dependency of that, or the not reaching out or reaching within or reaching between each other first. Not to create this rhetoric, but I'm going to bring it out anyway. When looking at, conditions that we created for ourselves in small pockets of communities like Tulsa, Oklahoma, which people have referred to as the Black Wall Street or whatnot, we had a system where we depended on each other first before going out and reaching for outside resources. And I know Tamar spoke on the reluctance to deal with the church or anything like that. Most of, if not all of every last organization that has been built to kind of push us ahead or push us forward in momentum started off as some ideal created in what is called a grassroots organization. Most of them deal with the church. Matter of fact, that's within the definition of a grassroots organization. So we have to keep those in mind when we're talking about, impact. It either does one or two things. It either causes us to have conversations like what we're having now and sit here and say, well, what's the solution to bring us back? Or it puts us in a position where we say, okay, we're moving outside of these, the entity of us and dealing with everything else, which could either, if we're talking finances, drive a wedge between men and women. If we're talking religion, definitely is always a hot button issue between, our people, whether which direction we should go, or even something as simple as heads of households become issue, or something as simple as how we move forward within a relationship becomes an issue now, because now, as the brother Galaxy J7 refined, as the brother expressed, instead of focusing within, we're now focusing on, okay, we have to maintain this level of help because we need it. But if we don't get it, so now you have to go and run and hide, or you can't be a part of this household because I need to maintain a level of assistance, which, I mean, in the perfect world, that ideal would be, hey, let's go to the community because that's where our help lies. But we have become accustomed to not dealing with each other. We've become accustomed to hating each other so much so that we can't even carry on a conversation, whether somebody's done right or not, because of disagreements. And that's an even bigger impact. So I don't really want to be ranting, but because I feel like that's where it's coming to. But overall, the ideal is to, or the impact is a negative one, in the sense of we have situations where now we're dependent, or we want assistance or want dependence outside, and we don't look at within. I agree. Desegregation, I think I made that point earlier, was if you want to put one of those markers at, hey, when did we start doing this? That's an eye opener. We can start with slavery. That's an eye opener. We can go back to either other standpoints of time within our communities. And we see that same thing often. That initial wedge driven from outside, our wantings to be accepted with outside, so we forget and tear down what we already have. I used the analogy last week of crabs in a barrel. It fits with this one too, because while we're looking to, not necessarily, I want to say openly destroy one another, there's things going on behind the scenes which can indeed destroy one another. And sometimes it takes us a little too long to see that. So I guess you could say the impact is social, and it's not good for relationships. Now, I'm quite sure who's ever next is going to explain that way better than me. So I'm going to yield on that note.
Hey man, don't cut yourself short. Don't cut yourself short. That explanation was great. Come on now. Hallelujah.
Before I'm sorry, I'm going to take 30 seconds. Shema, you made a point about Jeremiah, and you made a point about building homes. I threw a link out there, something I wanted to deal with personally, but that's another topic for another time. But I put a link out there on small projects that people can do to build homes as far as blueprints and everything, and instruction. I had put that link out there. And also, Shaul, you made an interesting point about I wasn't even thinking that far into it, but about a psychological position or a psychology term. And I put a link that expresses it. I couldn't find a scholarly one, so Wikipedia had to do. So those should be floating around somewhere. With that, I yield.
All righty.
My fault.
Good stuff. What I want to say, man, I am with Ahot Tamar 100% on something she said. A lot of us, we get on people that get assistance from the government. I don't believe that to be wrong. I agree with Yashayahu when he said it's just, are you becoming dependent on it? Are you trying to get yourself out of that situation? But some are not able to due to the lack of help they are getting, hence our community not being united. But what I want to say for those that are big on the Torah, understand that America, even though they are corrupt, a lot of their foundation as far as operation and helping people is based upon and off the Torah. I'm gonna pause right there for just half a second so they can marinate.
Consider bankruptcy, 7-year period, loan forgiven.
Yes, that is, and a lot of us don't know that. That's why we just stay. We don't even try to challenge it. What the America corruption is, they won't let you know that 7 years after 7 years you're done. They let you to continue on. So that's our fault. That goes into education. That goes into what I was saying about we're in the stage of information, and no one is really caring because we're comfortable and complacent. Boom. Anyway, let me go back to what. Let me go to this question: how has this messaging impacted our intimate relationships? It's evident in the stats. It's evident within your family. I'm sure you see it. In my family alone, a lot of women in my family are single. Some would say, who's listening in, oh, okay, well, that's probably the brother's fault. Some will say, okay, because that's probably the women's fault. I'm not going to blame either individually, but I'm going to blame both collectively. Even within, it's some hard times. Some people has trials and situations within that was out of their control. I get it. But then that goes back to how we always bringing out courting. That goes back to how I just brought out what me and Shaul was speaking of the last few days about, keeping a close knit with the community, families knowing each other, keeping outside sources out, or keeping them very limited. I'm not going to say, forget the Asians, forget them, we don't want to deal with them at all. I'm not going to say that because even our ancestors, they dealt with outside people, but they understood to deal with themselves first. And that's where Malcolm X got that from, by the way. So it's just the thing that we're lacking, and the impact that it has impacted us because we are allowing outside first, inside last. Outside first, inside last, which creates a dependency on them. I'm saying this to myself too. You know what I'm saying? One of the things I've been posting lately is, well, I'll say this. It affects us also, our trust. We're so used to not trusting each other, even before you get with someone, that lingers in the relationship that you build with the person, man and woman. Now you're not truly trusting them, and probably not even truly loving them. You know, I feel like us men and women, we hate each other. That's just my personal opinion in the community. I believe we do. Outside of close your children's ears, sex, and stuff along those lines, we're always arguing. We always combative. I put a post up a while ago as far as what combativeness is. Combativeness is really, you know, somebody that's prepared to fight, prepared for war, you know. And when we have this combative spirit amongst each other, man and woman, then it's not a team. It's not echad. That's not what it is. That's not what it is. So it has impacted us because outside first, inside last, right? So before you get into a relationship, you're so used to being compatible, competing with those outside. That's what you're used to. You're used to competing in the workforce. You're used to competing with your girls. You're used to competing with the guys, I guess. You know what I'm saying? I don't got a lot of guy friends like that anyway, so I ain't competing against nobody. You're used to all of that. So then once you come in and you get with somebody without leadership of elder, you know, an elder that has a wife, that might have like nation builders will do cover the woman, or um, um, for the men, coach them and get them prepared. You know what I'm saying? Like Chief Zebulon, I consider him a elder of mine. You know what I'm saying? He might not be the elder of mine, but I consider him an elder of mine because he has wisdom on life more than I do. So what you have to do is, whether how smart you think you is, how all of these things, this is still linking into this question. It's impacting us because we are so used to being on our own, being combative and fighting each other, that it lingers into any type of form of relationships that we have. You need to have these things in place, you know. So with that being said, how many minutes I got left, or seconds?
2.5, Aki.
2.5. So I'm not gonna take the whole 2. I just want to close my answer out with the question by saying, it's not a one thing. It's not a one answer that fits this question. It's a collective thing. But I think the most important is going or based off of the Tanakh. If you are practicing Hebrew or Israelite, or those that's not, you know, I know I'm big on talking to everybody in the Black community, but I'm saying that this literature is a great foundation for that. You know, I put out Jeremiah 29. You know, even the country you live in right now, they hold the Bible high, even though they're using corruptive nature. So that alone, you know what? You know, that's the last thing I'm gonna say. When you are facing the enemy, you normally learn everything about the enemy, and you try to manipulate and use their ways for your benefit. That's what I feel America has done. So with that being said, if they are the country of the Bible, a Christian country or whatever, then you need to go into this literature and learn the right way of doing it for it to be benefit you and your family. And it's all there. It's all there. You just need to consult with a righteous elder and or wife to get you on the path that you need and you desire to go. But a lot of us are, again, complacent, comfortable, and don't really care at the end of the day, or give up because they're not seeing these things being, you know, put out there. So with that, I yield. That's it. That's all I got right now.
Kane, indeed, Aki. And you know, I think as far as the main panelists on this show can attest to, you know, all of us are on some level, on one level or the other, entrenched in psychology and understanding people's mental conditions. Like the brother, I'm not even, the brother didn't really introduce himself, so I'm just gonna call him Galaxy J7, for the lack of a better term. But when he, oh, okay.
Hey,
When
your
he,
time over already, huh?
yeah, I know, right? That's the devil. But yeah, the one of the things that, you know, like with him, with the brother bringing out Deuteronomy 28, and of course all of us know, well, all of us who are Yisrael, who's actually opened up the book, have you know, that we can attest to that, no doubt, you know, that's our you know, Deuteronomy 28 answers a lot of our issues. It's the original ancestry.com. You know, it it deals with quite a few things. The one thing though that we have to even go before Deuteronomy 28, which is why we always talk about psychology, is that Deuteronomy 28 exists because of a pre-existing mental condition. The Most High set certain things in motion because he's like, well, if my people take this road, I already gave them life and death, good and evil. If they take this evil road, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to take place in their conditioning going forward. So the fact that when you think about when Israel came out of Egypt, they saw all of the magnificent things that the Most High did, you know what I'm saying, to Egypt. All of this stuff, they bore witness. See, we're only looking at it from a scriptural standpoint. They actually saw it. They were right there. They saw all of this that the Most High has done. And as soon as Moses goes up on the mount, what happens? The very same people who saw all of these great things go down, they said, hey, Aaron, set us up a God that we, you know what I'm saying, that'll go before us. As for this Moses, who knows what he's doing up there. So right after they saw all of these magnificent things go down, they immediately went against the Most High. It's one thing if we go against the Most High because we're coming from a distant past standpoint. We're like, well, yeah, he delivered our ancestors back then. They saw it go down 2 days ago. They saw it go down 5 hours ago and said, yeah, but this golden calf is going to service us. There's a mental condition there that would make a person see the great works of Yah, the Most High, and say, yeah, but Baal is better. Not sure exactly what he does because he's a statue, so I don't really know what he does, but I'm sure he does better. There's a mental condition that's involved in that. And Deuteronomy, of course, even addresses that, being stricken with madness. That you're going to be, if you think you're out of your mind now, just wait until you catch this. You're really going to be out of your minds and believing the things that you believe. And these are the things that leads up to us when we have these conversations about Deuteronomy 28. These things are, you know what I'm saying, they're showing you these are the symptoms of that madness. Now, of course, unfortunately, again, it seems like the theme of this show is going right back to what Shema said. We, you know what I'm saying, many of us have gotten to the point, because I'm not even talking about African Americans generally now. I'm talking about specifically those of us who know we are Yisrael. Because we can give a pass to Jake, to Yaakov out there, because he doesn't know any better. But those of us who do know better, many of us are doing the very same things and having the same outlook that Jake has out there in the world. So it goes right back to what you said, Shema, and that is that at that point, if you're armed with Deuteronomy 28 and Leviticus 26 and Hosea and Joel and all of these magnificent precepts, as they call them, and we are still acting like, and I'm not going to use the term, but we're still acting like, you know, tomfoolery, then it goes back to what you said, Aki. It's clearly we don't care. And I think that we don't care. And those of y'all, I mean, those of y'all out there who know my backstory knows that there was a point in time in my younger years that I had knowledge of Israel. You know, we talk like 1993. I know I'm Israel. I have my tassels on. And I was out there wilding in the street. Did I really care? Probably didn't care. Because obviously I knew what I was doing, because before I went and go did my evil, I would tuck my tassels and fringes into my pants so that nobody could see it. So it's obvious that I know what I'm doing is wrong, but I just didn't care. So a lot of us, we know what we're doing is not Torah. We know that what we're doing is being divisive in our friendships, divisive in our communities, divisive in our relationships. But again, the comfortability of dysfunction tells me, I'd rather just continue to be dysfunctional. It's much better to be dysfunctional because I already know what dysfunction is. I've been doing it all my life, and I know what to expect. But idealism, or being able to rise above what we've been doing and do better, that's scary because we haven't tested it yet. So it's like, hey, you know what? I'd rather the comfortability of dysfunction than the uncertainty of idealism. And it goes right back to us not caring. Once you've convinced yourself that what is better for us is of no consequence, you are what Ben Ami Ben Israel used to say, you are insane. You're out of your mind. And so this, of course, going back to the to the question, as far as how it impacts our intimate relationships, because we begin to pass on the insanity. We, you know what I'm saying, we conduct ourselves insanely outside, at our jobs, at our schools, whatever it is that we're doing, and we come home, and now you have a dysfunctional woman and a dysfunctional man trying to convince each other that their dysfunction is greater than the others. And so it goes right back to what I said earlier about indirect rule during colonialism, where the enemy can put something right there in the midst of you and say, here, take that. I'll step back and wash my hands of the situation and watch all the rats run around, like, who ate my cheese? Who ate the cheese? Everyone's running around trying to figure out why we are dysfunctional because you accepted the dysfunction. So yes, returning back to the Most High, that solves a lot of the problems. But before we can return back to the Most High, we have to first convince ourselves that we are insane. And that's our problem, is that if you haven't gotten to the point where you can say, you know what, yeah, I'm off. I need help. I need healing. I need teaching. Please, somebody in the community, teach me, heal me, help me. Until we get to that point, then we can go back to the scriptures all day, and the scriptures is going to be nothing but words on a paper, like the children of Israel. Isaiah chapter 1 makes that very clear, that yeah, you can do all of these sacrifices, you can do all of these, the Shabbats and the feast days, you can do all of this stuff, but if your heart is filthy, well, all you're doing is just spilling blood. That's it. You're just killing that lamb for no reason. So it goes back to the mind state that we have to convince ourselves or admit to ourselves that there is an element of insanity with us. But fortunately, we have the platforms to get out of it. We just have to care to get out of it, like Shema said. And with that, pass the mic in the cycle.
Before we go forward, y'all, I want to read what I appreciate Yashiyahu for posting it, but the Achmore Chaim said the implementation of negative characteristics within our people over the righteous constructs given to us by Yah is the root which stems from our willingness to stray away from said righteous constructs. I guess that was for the first question. So I just wanted to read that. I don't know if anybody else said anything.
Shaul, you up next.
Okay. The question is how does these things impact our intimate relationships, right?
Yes.
Okay. I think Chief Zebulon made a great point about us caring and acknowledging that we have issues. But the tricky thing about accountability and acknowledgement of wrongdoing is um and mental instability is subtle. You know, and it was a lot. I'm not gonna say it was easier, but it was a lot. Uh, uh, um, it wasn't easier to necessarily overcome it, but I would say it was easier in older generations or other time periods to tackle these things because their environment was more so about the physical, the physicalness of it. Like, our ancestors were literally getting introduced to trauma by way of more fit, or it was a more of a physicality in the older area than it is today. A lot of what our issues are today is more of a subtle thing where it kind of took decades and decades for it to start to overtake how it affected our mental. And that's what I mean by subtle. It's a very, very subtle thing. Mental illness is a very, very subtle thing that most people don't either understand themselves enough to say that something is wrong with me. They don't understand the nature of what the cause is of why they feel the way that they feel. Why do they do what they do? Why do they think the way they think? It's a lot of things that that's wrong with our people in that light that Zebulon brought out about you know how you was, and I like the example you made about the Bible is just words on paper if we don't have a clean heart. And so we have to start to care about one another and do these things again. And that's going to require, I think Shema brought up about, I think either Shema or Tamar brought up earlier about trust. And so we do lack trust, you know what I'm saying? And the problems with that is that we lack leadership. We lack um, realism, meaning that uh, uh, we don't have realistic expectations. The thing is, it's a thin line because we expect our leaders to, people expect the leaders that say they want to lead Israel to be perfect, and not have uh, any blemishes. But then at the same time, you know what I'm saying, there is a demand for the leadership to have some level of cleanliness in their leadership. So it's a thin line between that. We have to find a balance with that. But the solutions I would give is this. You know what I'm saying? That'll be my those things that I just highlighted. Just piggybacking off of what Zebulon was saying, be my, what I'm also seeing as well is what the problem is outside of our small, rightfully so. But at the same time, because we have all grown up on different sides of the track. So because of that, we have different levels of programming, different levels of outlooks and views on life.
I can't hardly hear you. I'm not sure if it's just
So
me.
that conflicts with causes us to look to this. Can you guys hear me now?
Okay, it's a little better. It was kind of going back. The connection was bad.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah, bro, I think you in a spot where your signal ain't strong.
Say that again.
I think you in a spot where your signal ain't strong.
Yeah, you're right about that. My joint weak as hell.
You sound
Okay.
like Computer Love, not Roger. What was his name? Whatever.
Roger Troutman.
Man. Okay.
Roger Troutman. Thank you very much.
Zach.
You 80s
All
people.
right, there we go. Y'all should be able to hear me better now.
Yeah, that's better. Keep talking.
Okay.
That's right.
So my solution is I heard Shema bring up earlier some of the points we was talking about this week. Throughout our conversations about community building and marrying intermarrying our children together and things like that. So what I would say is this: our nation is too broad, too big for us to try to go on this Jesus salvation hunt to try to save everybody. So what we need to do is we need to start off with the smallest group we can start off with and start building from there. So anybody who's serious about this process that we're talking about and righting this ship and fixing it is going to have to come together, make the sacrifice, and we're going to have to, and it's going to start with brotherhood, because at the end of the day, the women are spoils of war. You know what I'm saying? The women are spoils of war. The leadership is going to have to come back amongst the brothers. So that means brothers are going to have to form a strong bond and a brotherhood, blood in, blood out, with a covenant and the contracts, like what Shema was talking about. We're gonna have to be blood in, blood out with each other, and it's not gonna. It can't be based off of a doctrine. Like, it can't be based off of that. It have to be based off of principles, which is the moral law of Torah, basically signifying how we deal with each other, how we communicate with each other, how we love each other, how we interact with each other. So at the end of the day, it's going to take for brothers to say, let's form a coalition that's coming together cohesively, and let's sit down and say, look, this is what we're going to, in this core group, this is what we're going to do in this core group, and start to kind of establish a autonomous mindset, a ruling class mindset. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have to establish, you know what I'm saying, that mindset. We're going to have to start understanding government administration, understanding how to delegate. You're gonna have to understand how to delegate authority and administrate positions to other people and put people in the places that they need to be. Everybody got gifts and talents, and we start to organize things bit by bit and start one step at a time. And so those are some of the things we can do. Also, separating ourselves. That's probably that's going to be the biggest thing. Because again, it's going to be quite difficult. I mean, to Zebulon's point, it's going to be and just to hone back in on what he was saying about us getting ourselves clean, having a clean heart, a clean mind, and getting back on point. It's going to be difficult for us to do that scattered all over the place like we are. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be difficult to do that when you got so many distractions. Holidays, your cousins and family members tugging at you. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be difficult to do that when you work in an environment with wickedness. It's going to be difficult to change your heart when you're around so much madness. So separation is going to have to be the first thing that people start to do, is get out of the city and start and separate. And it was a post that I shared this morning that my man's that we call the winemaker posted about, since that's basically saying that we should use gentrification against the other nations. And I agree with that. And the reason why is because, look, when they move a chess piece, we move a chess piece. Let's think of what a ruling class, instead of sitting out with our hands out, begging everybody for money and begging everybody to love us and begging everybody to help us. We should be able to, we supposed to have a mindset and the strength to help ourselves. So at the end of the day, we're going to have to stop the begging. We're going to have to stop the complaining in regards to why other people won't reach out and pull us up. And we're going to have to pull ourselves up by our own strength, because we have it within us, because we have our God back. We have our power back. We have Yah back. So at the end of the day, we're going to have to separate. We're going to have to bring form a coalition and a strong, cohesive brotherhood that's going to, where we're going to establish leadership and elders and things like that. And then it's going to trickle down from the men to the women and the children. And that's how we start to establish order. But first, we must separate and come together. So we start off small. So anybody that's serious about doing that, start working on a plan with those who want to do that with you, and forget the doctrine, man. All that other stuff about Esau and all this, like we gotta let that stuff go. That stuff don't even matter, because ain't none of that stuff salvational, productive anyway. You know what I'm saying? So get out of all this doctrinal stuff, man. Only thing that matters is Torah, the first 5 books, the moral law, and the way that we go and do things with the Most High. You know what I'm saying? And you guys come together, and when it comes to certain things that we do, like it's keeping the feast days and things like that. You know what I'm saying? You guys come together and y'all figure out what y'all gonna agree on, but it shouldn't be that big of a deal because at the end of the day, bro, everybody is trying to do the best that they can. So if you're keeping the feast days, ain't no arguing about what day it is. Like, who cares? Like, it's time out for that. It's time to really start loving each other the right way. So I'm gonna yield with that, and that's where I'm at with it.
That's right.
Hello.
We can hear you. I think I know
I'm
you.
like,
Don't I know?
of course you know me.
Hey, what's going on, brother? How you doing, Brad?
I'm doing good.
Praise the
I'm
Most
doing
High.
good. Yes. So, um, um, I kind of lost track on the conversation. But piggybacking off what the brother said, what's his Shahu? Shahu? So
Yeah, so do
you
you want me
know,
to repeat the question? Do you want me to repeat the question for you?
yes, please.
Yep. So the next question is I just lost it, my doggone self. I think it's how is this message? How is the messaging influencing our intimate relationship? So how is this message of division like impacting our relationship? I think that's the question.
Mm.
Our intimate relationships.
So man versus black men, black women relationships, intimate. Sorry.
Oh, well, like I said before, it was we had to be strong within ourselves, and we have to look past our personal needs when it comes down to black man versus black woman. You know, we gotta come to a point where we understand each other. You know, like communication is a big deal when it comes to a situation like that. And sometimes because the way we grew up and the way our neighborhoods are in the environment that we in, community and all that, you know, we be at the point where I don't want to listen to him, I don't want to listen to her. You know, we fight against it. Our mind, when the brother says, and I say it like this: we're hardwired to to be negative, if you will. Like we're naturally hardwired that way, and it's sad because when you're hardwired to be negative, that means you won't listen to a person who will come to you with something positive. You won't listen to the suggestion of a positive situation, you know, because you got your mind set on, hey, what you saying, this good thing, man, I'm trying to give you a whole $100 right here, a whole $100 that I know you need. Now I don't want your help, you know. If you coming at a person like that and they trying to help you out and trying to help you get it into a better situation, and you don't want to receive it for whatever reason, you don't want to you see, like, you could see the situation clearly and you still choose not to accept it, or not to even try to change or any of that. You gotta I, I I don't want to lose my train of thought because I'm kind of getting in my emotions in the situation, because something like that is always it's always been a bother to me. You know, I'm always like, I'm all for relationships. I'm all for black man, black woman, white man, white woman. You know, I'm all for male, female unity. Hey, let's build a family type deal. You know, but if you can't come to that thing, regardless, ups, downs, lows, whatever you want to call it, man. If you want to be against what you're trying to build, then it's not gonna happen for you. You're gonna break the whole thing down. You're gonna cause that division by saying, hey, no, I ain't trying to listen to what you say. You gotta come to a compromise, man. And that's not just with with the relationships alone, that's also with people too. You know, a couple of times I didn't try to bring, and I remember it mainly in my younger years, back in my high school days, man. I I tried a little bit to bring my people up. You know what I'm saying? I tried to bring my people together. But you know, they always did something. Like I was walking around, man. I remember real well. I was always walking around. I had my red, black, and green and everything. This is before I knew who I was. You know, that I was Israel. I was always militant. You know, I was walking around red, black, green. I'm around a whole bunch of white folks, if you will, Gentiles. Well, like I said, we were Europeans. I was around there. I hung out with a lot of them. Still around. I got my Malcolm X on. You know what I'm saying? I'm rep. And then I come to the brothers and everything, you know, the Gentiles ask me questions. I'm like, hey man, look, I know we ain't the same and everything. You know, this is what it is for me. You know, I'm black, I'm too strong. You know, this is who I am. You know, you either gonna accept me for who I am or you keep it moving. Or if you want, we could go at it. We could throw some hands. You know, needless to say, that did happen a couple of times, you know. But then when it started progressing to like 93, about 92, 93, they tore down the projects up in Chicago, the Robert Taylors. So a lot of the brothers and sisters, we moved to the suburbs of Chicago. Even still, I'm repping.
Shout out.
You know, complain to my yes sir, yes sir. So you know, I'm still with it and everything, but at the same time, now I got these brothers. Now these, like I say, these projects, they was in hood. You know what I'm saying? I'm walking through the hood, but they hood, like they in those streets for real. You know what I'm saying? Like these brothers, they saw me walking around, and I remember they wanted to fight me. They wanted to beat me down and everything. I'm like, brother, I'm black. Because you see hanging out with these white dudes don't mean nothing. They don't change who I am. They don't change me. You know what I'm saying? They don't change what's in my heart. You know, I'm not going to let your negativity pull me away from what I am and who I am. You know, because you think, because I'm hanging out with these white folks, you know what I'm saying? You separating me from my own brothers because of what you think you see. But what you don't know is, and that's the way, and that's how I see the division that I had to face. Nowadays, I see it totally different. I think, I hate to say it, drugs have become a way of division for a lot of us. I know people now, and I knew people a few years back who got into drugs. Like I used to be into drugs too, but when I say they got into some other stuff, and they let that rule their decision. Brother, what you doing ain't right. You need to come back over here, get yourself together, get your mind right. Trying to help you out with the best advice. You always putting me down. You ain't. No, brother, I am trying to help you out. I don't want to listen to what you guys say. Brother, I'm just trying to tell you this is the way to do it. What you're doing, you're going about it the wrong way. Skip that, nigga. You ain't. That was a sad moment. I literally cried inside for that. You know, the thing is, what we have to do now is just try to bring ourselves back together and get beyond what, like I said before, our desires are. You know, and if once we get past our desires, then we can learn how to work together. And once we learn how to work together, then we could build structure in our community. Back then, we had black stores. We had, you know what I'm saying, we had money in our community. But then, systematically, the government put his little 2 cents up in and separated us from that. And now it's hard to get back to that point. And it's only because our mindset is in chains and locks. And we have to break that with a sledgehammer and a pick. That's my time. I yield.
Shamika, Judah, you're on.
I was about to say,
Real,
so
real quick
Shamika,
before
bring it
you
out.
bring it on, can you say what the topic is again? We have someone in the chat asking what's the topic. I don't
No, I
want to.
saw it.
I
So,
don't do
I,
loud.
yeah, I was finna text.
Oh, okay,
text
go
you.
ahead, go ahead, go ahead. Do what you do. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's a lot for you.
Shamika, Judah, you're on.
I'm actually not on because I have nothing to say. All 80 of y'all raised some good points. So shalom.
Okay.
Okay. I wanted to say one thing. I don't want to take up the time. I know we're getting close to the end. We got one more question. So we heard negativity, and it's another word somebody said. I forget. Oh, somebody said about how we give up on each other, whatever. So again, the question is, how does this divisive messaging impact our intimate relationships? Because it's all trauma. All this is just a traumatic experience. Our life is that way. So I think over time, the divisive messaging, whether it started in whatever time period you think it started at, right? The way it's impacting us is that we can't even really move forward because we're all collectively like shook. You know what I'm saying? Even the prospect of a relationship for some of us is like, I don't even want it. I'm tired. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the main thing that impacts. That's the worst part of the messaging is that it doesn't even allow. And I'm an idealist. I do think we can do better, but I'm just saying I see how it's going to be a process. So a lot of people talk about separation and us being around each other. I think that's good, but I just read Zebulon told me about this book called The Impregnable People. It's a good read if you ever need to read something about what it looks like in real life when people leave, whether you leave Ohio and move to another state and do this, or if you leave and legit leave and go to Africa. There's always a weeding out process. I think somebody mentioned that as well. It's always going to be a weeding out process that occurs. So even if you look at coming out of Egypt, everybody knew there was an Israelite. Everybody theoretically knew Torah, I guess. They had something still. And they still, only two people from that original group, well, yeah, from the original group, as far as the older people, only two of them made it to the end of it, 40 years later. And that's a short time period, 40 years. So anyway, I think, I don't know who said it, but somebody said it's something's wrong with, or everyone said, it's something wrong with us. And I think that everybody should acknowledge it, say something is wrong. I don't know what I'm doing. I say, even say it to yourself, say, I don't know what I'm doing. And those people who find the answer and are ready to do the work, then that's who, similar to what Shaul already said, but it's gonna be people like that that's gonna help us to move forward. And not just us, because I don't think it's a collective us. I don't even really believe in that. I believe everybody's gonna do what they're gonna do, and I feel like when people are out doing the work, they're gonna look to their left, look to their right, and the people doing the work, that's us. That's the people. So the final question is,
That was a great point right there.
yeah, boy.
I was about to say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Tamar basically she just summed up basically what I'm saying. When I talk about us, I'm talking about those who really want to do something. I ain't talking about everybody else. They gotta go. So I ain't gonna say nothing else though.
Yeah. So the final question, I thought I had already typed it, but maybe I didn't type it. The final question is, and this will be our closing remarks too. We had 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock Central Time. How can we change I can't see. I should put my new glasses I got on. I ordered online. They were.
Put them on. Put them on now.
I should put them on. And I don't want to say who I got them from because I don't want to give them no free plugs. I want some money. I ain't gonna say where I got them from. Okay, unless you give me a check. They kind of smeary right now, but check it.
Oh my God.
Ooh, Fox and
Oh my
I
God.
know. I can't see for real. So the last question is, how can we change the narrative to acknowledge the indivisibility of us? So what can we do to change it so that we do think of us as a collective thing?
Can I say this real quick, man? I ain't trying to cut nobody off, but I ain't gonna lie to you. I gotta go real quick. So can I go first before I leave so everybody can get what I gotta say about it? I'll just
You
ask
said
it.
go-
You just want to go and you ain't gonna hear what we said, huh? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Nah, I ain't. Yeah. Yeah, man. You know I'm gonna talk to y'all after the show. But yeah, okay. Ask the question again, Tamar, so I make sure I get it in context.
Oh, how can we change the narrative to acknowledge the indivisibility of us?
Change the narrative to acknowledge it. That's a
To
good
acknowledge
question.
that we're not divided.
That we're
That's a
not
lie. That's a lie. The construct is a lie.
the concept is a lie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tomorrow these questions, man, I tell you.
Okay, so how can we change the narrative about the indivisibility of us? The fact that we can't come together, or people say we can't come together, or the fact that we can come together.
So I'm gonna word it real quick. How can we
Yeah.
change it so that we don't know, so that we don't feel divided? Because that's a
So
lie,
we don't.
obviously.
Oh, so that we don't feel divided. Got you. Okay.
Right.
So I think that question I think that question is parallels to um the last question, and I think it also goes to what Zebulon was saying about acknowledging that there is a problem, like acknowledging that something, like you just said a few minutes ago, that something is wrong with us, and that we have to get to a place to where we say, you know what, I'm tired, I'm ready to I'm just ready to make this happen. And so I'm gonna reiterate again what I said earlier about us separating, creating a faction, you know what I'm saying, and separating. um I'm not gonna say we got time, I'm not gonna say we don't have time, but what I will say is that uh it need to be a sense of urgency. You need to have you need to start meditating on self-sacrifice and start thinking about others and coming together with others and putting down the petty, silly arguments, because it ain't nothing but pride anyway. Anytime a person wants to continually argue over and over again, that's a mental issue. You know what I'm saying? And then even when we do debates, the debates don't even have no order to it. You know what I'm saying? So we just need to put that aside and start going and go back to the cultural aspect of it. I mean, it's in the Torah. We got the civil law and we have the moral law. So um, we just have to get those who are saying, I'm fed up, I'm ready to make the sacrifice, and I'm ready to go, and we just establish a whole new thing. However that faction chooses to do so, and the more we can do that, the more we end up growing over time. And so my response is real short to the question, but it's just gonna we always talk about how grown we is. We grown, I'm grown, man. What I'm saying, I'm a dude. Okay, since you grown, then you should be able to go ahead and put it out there then and say, I'm fed up and I'm ready to write, I'm ready to help, I'm ready to put myself and my life on the line to right this ship for the nation, for the children that ain't even born yet, that ain't even been conceived yet. So it's just gonna take for you to really be grown. It's gonna take for you to really be mature. And it's only a remnant of those people out here anyway. And that's who I'm speaking to right now. So all of those out here who feel fed up, that feel like, man, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of the distrust, I'm tired of the dishonesty, I'm tired of the lack of transparency, I'm tired of my depression, I'm tired of feeling down, I'm tired of feeling low, I'm tired of feeling any type of negative energy, and you want to get yourself together, you know what I'm saying, then you are going to have to take it into your hands and say, let me start moving on this. You know what I'm saying? I've been talking to Yeshayahu and Shema like damn near every day for the last week since the last show. And I hope to continue to talk to other brothers about what we're trying to come up with and what we're trying to do for everybody else that want to do something for real and put their hands to the plow and do something real, do some real work. So with that being said, my name is Shaul, and I'm a brother who put myself out there all the time. You know what I'm saying? I don't mind being transparent, don't mind being honest or anything like that. That's why I always tell people to hit me up, call me, whatever the case is. I don't mind giving my number out. I don't mind building with brothers, seeing what brothers is on. But me, I'm a person, I already made the vow. I already made a vow to the Most High that that I'm putting my life on the line. My life is on the line for this nation. I already put it out there to the people that's in my circle that look, whatever y'all need, I'm gonna give it up. Whatever my children need, I'm giving it up. The brotherhood, you know what I'm saying, the spirituality, all this stuff, whatever we gotta do, I'm on the line for it. So it's like if I gotta stay up all night and counsel someone 2, 3 in the morning, you know what I'm saying? I gotta get up at 5 or 6 in the morning. Hey man, it ain't no biggie, man. But at the end of the day, self-sacrifice is something that I enjoy doing. I enjoy giving myself to other people. So it's just that those out there that want to put themselves out there and just keep, pushing forward and moving forward, let's do it. And that's it. Well, my time is up anyway. So I want to say Shabbat Shalom, everybody, man. Peace, blessings, love to everybody, man. Success. Most High bless everybody that's trying to do something for the Most High, and let His will be done. And hopefully that will be aligned with all your ideas and all your aspirations and all your goals. So with that being said, Shalom.
Shalom. I guess I'm next. These are closing remarks as well, correct? So I'm gonna try to be as quick as possible. This is the part of the show that I was looking forward to most, because now we get to talk about solutions. The brother made some very good points already, so I'm gonna be reiterating some things. I think the first step always recognizing and admitting that there's a problem, but also recognizing and admitting that we need help with that problem. Putting pride aside is the first step. Looking at it on a not as far as a bigger organization or a big community, but if we're looking at individuals or relationship by relationship, removing pride out first is always the go-to. And even as a community, we don't do that. I can't say we don't do that. Correction. It's not done often, or it could be done more. Let's put it that way. Could be done more. Secondly, before, and this is sometimes even before we can come together as a community, recognizing how we support each other and what support we need from each other. I don't know if we made mention to that, but that conversation has to happen and has to happen more. We talk about transparency on this show, and I think a good portion of us at various moments have been very transparent. Various moments since the creation of this show about how we feel about certain topics, our own personal struggles with certain topics, and how we've overcome or hope to overcome. So intertwining all of that together, we talk about the courting phase and everything else, but just between men and women in general, we need to ask, how can we support each other, and listen. It's a whole bunch of talking and ain't nobody listening to each other. I'm not one that's willing to kind of, no, scratch it. I'm not even gonna say that. I'm gonna say this, or put it like this rather. We ain't listening. We doing a whole bunch of talking, and we're doing a whole bunch of kind of waiting to respond. Those things need to end between our people, individual, man to man, woman to woman, brethren, sisterin, whichever way you want to put it. We need to start hearing each other out and reciprocating love. Whether we look at that as far as a commandment based or look at that as what's the our morals as far as keeping the commandments, or what does the book say about neighborly commitments and love. We need to get stronger in that aspect, and that would in turn create that narrative to push forward a community. Um, Outside of that, we need to forgive each other. As Tamar mentioned, there's a whole bunch of trauma. All of this stuff equates to trauma, and it's long lasting, generational, uh, ever going at some points. And we get to a point where it's kind of like what Shema said, what Chief Zeb said, what Shaul said. We stop caring because we're too focused on the day-to-day activities, or too focused on I got to get mines, or too focused on, you know, not putting a brother and a sister in first, too focused on not looking at charity. As the book say, what charity starts at home. We ain't doing none of that. None of that. And that goes along with forgiveness. We ain't forgiving each other for the trauma that has been done. And that's the start of making that switch. You know, you can't hope to get better at something until you admit your faults, until your faults are forgiven. And that's both ways. I look on Facebook all the time and I see men and women interaction and posts about men, posts about women, and how we treat each other. And hey, this one did this to me, so I'm gonna go get them back. Like, when we gonna stop being petty? I'm a yield. I'm a yield. I'm a yield and pass it on to the next brethren. But I'm gonna leave it at this. Until we start looking at our conduct, and until we come together and say, this is a codified ideal, we're going to lean on these laws, and these are the understanding of law that we're going to lean on, we won't get past any of these conversations. It'll just be more rhetoric added on to what has already been done. Until we start forgiving each other and treating each other accordingly, and as well as taking accountability for our actions, we will never get past that hump. It'll just be more communication and conversation with no action involved. So if we want to get past this or get to a place or a solution, it would be applying action to all of these things that we say, even on this show. Applying action to that. As the brother Shaul say, put your hands to a plow. As Tamar said, look to your right and to your left and see who doing the work. That's how you find the community. But you got to be doing the work to do that. So I'm going to yield there. Shalom, shalom, everybody. Be at peace and, keep fighting.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. All right, so how can we change the narrative that says that we are divided and can't work together? Everything said so far was really good. My ideas, my thoughts on the matter is what's the biggest reason why we don't work together, right? It's trust. That's the number one reason, to me anyway, is of us not working together is trust. At this point, I understand conditioning, I understand influence, I understand infiltrating the family structure and stuff. I get that part. But if we're talking strictly to us that are aware of this stuff, even within ourselves, the quote unquote Israelites, it's because we don't trust each other. We get on Facebook, we say a lot of good stuff to each other, but we, as a whole, now I know it is something to do, but I'm just saying it's a reason we're not. This narrative is out there. It's a reason these things is evident. Is because the large grand large scale of us as a nation or whatever we want to call ourselves is lack of trust. So how do we get around that? The only way we're going to get around it is one way. And it's scary too, by the way, when I say this, because some people won't do it because they're afraid to. We have to be the example to show trust towards another individual. We have to show that leap of love, so to speak. Because if we don't do it, those that saying and talking these things that we want, if we don't do it, it's going to be a constant cycle of not trusting. It's going to be a constant cycle of division. It's going to be a constant cycle of all of these things. So that's why I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, to the 100 power. Algebra? I don't know. She said no. What Shaul said. What I just said is unrealistic as far as on a large scale. But the realistic part is what Shaul said. We got to start small. So we got to get amongst those that will do it and be the example through that community. And others will see it, and then we can groom and teach, encourage, and motivate those that are seeing the work that we're doing. So that's the only way. That's all I got as far as the question. How can we change the narrative? The narrative is starting small. No nation was built fully as just a nation. It had to start like Yeshayahu just said, individual by individual. They had to work and sift themselves through the individuals in order to create a strong foundation within a nation. Even the United States of America is a large melting pot, is what people say, right? There's so many different religions, there's so many different communities within, but how are they surviving as a nation, America, with so many different differences? How? It's because it's a structure. They let these doctrines go. They have a foundation, like what Brother Shaul was speaking of, like we speak of a lot also. They have that foundation. He wasn't wrong when he said, let doctrine go. Get into the principle, the more important principles that allows the nation to thrive. You know what I'm saying? We all keep the commandments of God. We all do feast days. That's stuff that we can all relate to. Not know when did Shabbat happen or when it's sun down or when it's all that stuff is semantics until that time. Because let's face it, a lot of us don't go into language. A lot of us don't go into all of these different things. So that's another main reason we all over the place in differences. So what are the important things that we all agree on? We agree on the dietary law. We agree on the feast days. We agree on keeping the commandments of God. Boom. All right, cool. You know, now let's go and start building and doing what Jeremiah 29 is speaking of. That's how we change the narrative. To change the narrative, we have to come with a commonality amongst each other, and we have to trust each other. And with that, I yield.
A lot of things, very interesting points. Some of them I'm going to forego because it would require a substantial amount of more time to to kind of peel back the layers on these things, especially as far as doctrine is concerned, because that's a huge issue. And I think that the fact that it is a huge issue in itself is indicative of a much deeper problem. But I'm going to push that to the side. But as far as changing the narrative, I think one of the things that all you have to do is go on social media, and not just social media. You can just go in real time, go around to various cities, various boroughs, various counties and states or whatever. You get around, you start traveling, and you realize that every single camp that exists in Israel, with no exception, every single one of them practices unity. Every single one of them. If you go in IUIC right now, and I'm just randomly pulling them out of there. If you go into any IUIC camp, guess what? They are all on one accord. They dress the same. They speak the same. For the most part, they think the same. They have the same outlook. Everything that they do is in deliberate unison. They deliberately move that way. You go to GOCC, it's the same concept. They think the same, they speak the same, they move the same, they dress the same. And you can go from congregation. I mean, like I said, I come out of Shema Israel, Camp Yakad, Beni Zakin, or whatever, and you knew if you knew that you were part of that camp, because people would be like, oh, it's a certain way that they wrap their turbans. They're very particular in how they wrap. So every camp has an understanding of unity, and they practice it, even religiously in some cases. So it's not that we don't know how to do it, because we're doing it all day. When we get off this show, those of us who are part of camps, whatever, when we get off the show, we're going to go back to our respective organizations or whatever like that. And what are we going to do? We're going to be operating along the same lines that they operate. Why? Because this is unity. Our problem has always been how far we want to take that unity, how far we want to go with it. Do we want to go and make it a nationalistic thing, like Shamav said, or are we going to be content, instead of being a nation, we'll just be content in being a 12-tribe confederacy, where it's like, well, we're all doing us, whatever like that, but we do acknowledge that we're Yisrael. What is the platform that we're going to take? And so I think that when you travel around and you see that the narrative, and this goes back to what we spoke about last week about the fishbowl, that the narrative is mainly pushed by people on Facebook. That, oh, we can't do this, we cannot unify. Like, nah, actually we can. We can do it. And it goes back to what Shema said. It's just that some of us don't care. We don't want to, because some of us don't want to be little pieces in a big puzzle. So what we like to be that guy, or we want to be that woman. And being a part of a bigger movement makes us, at least in our eyes, insignificant. We become like the grasshoppers, like the spies said in the scriptures. Oh, we went over here and we were as grasshoppers in their eyes, because they realized that, oh, there's other people making moves and showing that yes, in fact, yes, we can unify. There's so many examples of functional Black relationships, functional Black marriages, functional Hebrew courting processes. I've seen it. That's why when I look at when I look at my own past, I'll be like, damn, I was slacking. I was out of my damn mind. I'm slacking, because I've seen the successes. I've seen communities who practice these things, across the board. So when you see the dysfunction, you're like, oh, the dysfunction that's the anomaly. That's not the norm. But on social media, it is the norm, because that's where everybody who goes to complain about the dysfunction. The people who are not dysfunctional, they're spending their time being functional. They're in their communities. They're out there making moves that they have to make. But we get trapped up in. Take that out here. We get trapped up in social media, and social media is very good at just kind of highlighting the worst of us, highlighting the worst things that we have to bring to the table. And I think that we have to always be mindful. Is there a lot of madness going on in our communities? That goes without saying. We're out of our damn minds a lot of times. But we do understand that there is a great, a significant portion of our people that have figured these things out. They have figured out the dysfunction, and they're moving accordingly. So it's not that it can't be done, because we're all doing it in our own camps. The question is, when are these individuals from these respective camps or movements going to go outside of their fishbowl and say, hey, we also see you guys are doing this. We also see that you sisters are doing that. How can I be down? Because we're doing the same thing. What we doing? Can we get on board with what you got going on? Oh, we see that you're doing this. Can we go and do that? I think that is really the issue. It's not that we don't know how to, because we're doing it every single day in our respective camps. You know what I'm saying? It's the fact, do we want to be, do we want to be a part of the whole, or would we rather be generals in a 5-man camp? I think I'd rather be I'd rather be a small piece of a massive movement as opposed to the leader of a 5-man army. It's, whatever like that. So I think it can be done. I think the narrative has a lot to do with shifting the attention from the naysayers to the doers. All of us, we're talking about doing. So when we catch the naysayers, we say, hey, listen, you're doing all the complaining. Let me see your resume. What you doing? Not what your elders doing, not what your whatever. What are you doing? Let me see your resume. What are you doing? And if you're not doing something, then we implore you to get down with someone who's actually doing. You start doing it. Be part of the doers, the repairers of the breach. Not those guys on the outside in Nehemiah, on the outside hating and reporting back to Persia like, yeah, they're over there doing. No, be part of the doing. So I think, again, the narrative, I think some of it is a false narrative, but some of it has valid validity. And I think that those of us who know which parts are valid, we're doing what we're doing. And our job is to go and seek out those who don't know what they're doing and get them on board and show them that, yes, you can do more, you can do better. Otherwise, why are we picking this up every day? Why are we reading this? Why are we dealing with the scriptures if we're not going to put it into motion? But I think a lot of us can do it, and we will do it. We just have to push it and ignore the false flags on the sidelines, or whatever like that. That's my position on that. And with that, I'm going to bounce.
Man, Apocrypha, man, was like Apocrypha 2.0. Mind playing.
Yeah, mind playing, and I can't hardly read words until today.
Yeah, step up your game, Mark. Step it up.
You want to say? I can't even talk. You want to say something, Brad?
You see me up here trying to mess with this daggone thing because I'm using my phone. First off, let me apologize for earlier. I did use an inappropriate word. Yeah, that's still that part of me that belongs to the street that I was trying to get rid of. I'm pretty sure we all flew off the handle when it came down to talk to people who get your nerves pretty good there, and except for to all nations, I don't even care who it is. I'm just being straight up, I ultimately, what we do here is mainly for us to teach ourselves, to teach our children, to show others love that we don't show. Because it boils down to them. Me, I'm well above my prime right now. So yeah, for me, it definitely got to be the children and the grandchildren. Show them how to show love. So now we have to come as individuals, as ourselves, and how can I say, examine ourselves to put ourselves in the right position, whereas we could show charity. And if our children see how we show charity and we teach them, they learning how the charity goes, or how to show charity, how to show love one to another. Ultimately, scriptures do say, hey, what's that? Love your neighbor as yourself. So if you're not loving yourself, then how can you show anybody else love? How can you bring anybody together if you're not going to bring yourself together? You have to really you really have to narrow out your mind from all the negativity and put it in the perspective of a positive outcome towards the picture. You know, there was this when I was doing school, it was an art class that I taken, and one of the projects was, oh, I want to say Horizon. I want to say it was Horizon. Um, a point. It was something to that effect where you had to you draw a line across the paper, and you put a dot wherever you want the dot to be at. You put that dot, and you draw from that perspective. You know, so if you say you put the dot in the middle of the paper, you draw from that perspective. Like you build from that perspective. You know, and if we could take the fact that we look at ourselves, we love in ourselves, we could paint that picture to others. We can't force them, but if we could, they will only turn if they choose to. You know what I'm saying? They will only follow if they choose to follow. You know, that's just the way we are. If they want to change, they'll make that change. They'll start drawing on that perspective. You know, I still wish I could remember the name of that art project. But nevertheless, I'm sticking with loving your neighbor as you love yourself, because that's what brings people together. You know, it's just like I said, they have to choose it. You know, you can show a person love all day and they can reject that love all day. You know, but how long suffering are you to continue to show that person that love? How many times would you let him kick against you to show him that, until he get to the point where he's like, man, look, I done did this to you, like I done did this to you and everything and whatnot, you know, and I see you trying to do something with it, you know what I'm saying? You trying to bring me into this thing. Bro, I see you doing some positive things and whatnot. Let me finally get it together with you. You know, let me come and join. Then you show him. Then as we show each other, we can show our children. Our children is going to get it quicker than we are, quicker than we will, because they still young. Their minds are still sponge. They're not thinking, oh, I'm grown. They're not thinking, hatred. They're not thinking with that. You know, a child forgiveness is it's like never ending, almost like the Lord's. You know, some parents, they mistreat their child and their child still will forgive them. You know, some people, even children, can mistreat other children. And after a while, them children become friends. Some of them become lifelong friends. You know, the same ought to be when it comes to building structure within the community. I know, like the brother said, hey, that's a worldwide, a big thing. You have to start off with a small group. Well, if that be the case, start off with yourself. That be the case, let it start off not with just y'all, but with y'all's children. And their children. Well, I'm at the children's point, so I got to start somewhere. So I have to continue to embed that into them. But at the same time, I show my love to everybody because I have no. Is that my time? Is that my time here? My bad. So to wrap it up, I'm just gonna say, love yourself as you would love your neighbor. And if you receive that love in return from anybody else, and you gather up, and you have people who gather up with you, you know what I'm saying, and y'all willing to come into one mind, one fold, into that one perspective, then by God Almighty, do it. And stay strong with it. And that's my time. I yield. Peace.
Okay. So I have a question first because I'm a tad bit confused. Y'all know I was late. So is the question, I understand the question, but specifically, was it about marriage between a man and a woman, or the community? Because what I have to say can work for both, but I just wanted to know.
Well, yeah, the original topic was about the black man and black woman, but say what you're gonna say, and I think it might apply either way.
Yeah. So.
Because the man and woman is the beginning of the community anyway. Just
Right.
you know
Okay.
what I'm saying? So
That's
yeah,
right.
what I have to say will work for both. But I agree with everything everybody said, and Brad kind of touched on what I was about to say a little bit. But everybody said it. We have to acknowledge what's going on, be it trust or whatever the case is. We have to work on those things in order to change the narrative in our household or in our communities. But after we change the narrative, like for instance, while Chief was talking, John posed the question, can you compete in the marriage? And he thought about, like, both of us on our weight loss journey. We'll both be saying stuff like, I'm losing more weight than you. No, I'm about to beat you, and once I lose this, don't touch me type thing. So it become more of a competitive, I'm about to be better than you type thing versus us supporting each other and working together. And I think that happens a lot in marriages and in the community too. So I think we have to move past stuff like that. But once we genuinely change the narrative, I think we have to push it, because every like Chief was saying, every post, every video, every picture, every meme that you see is not much positivity about Black couples, Black marriages, or Black communities. It's always negative. So once we collectively start to change our narratives, and it's working, and we can be a testimony to someone, we have to then push it to show people this ain't all we are. We bigger than this. We can overcome this. We overcame this. We got to push that to our people and let them see the positivity, because they gonna always think it's no light. So we have that opportunity to be the light. Once we change those things, we need to be that. But that's all I had to say.
That's right. Bring it out.
yeah, that's definitely right on time with these last words. About so again, the title is The Invisibility of Us, which is basically, it's kind of like an oxymoron. We can't really separate it from each other, and we could, of course, Genesis 2:18, and then even beyond the Bible, people know, like, don't nobody really want to be by themselves, whether you believe in the scriptures or not. Nobody wants to be by themselves. So it's an oxymoron that we would even be divided, especially us as a people, when we ain't never had nobody on the outside to come do nothing for us. Even those people that believe this, right? They say, if we was taken from another land, nobody ever came back to get us. So that alone is another, like, way to think about it. We really are by ourselves, and we're even more. So we really can't avoid to have any more division, unless we want total annihilation. Which, by the way, read Judges Judges 20, I think, in 21. And it tells you about how bad that could go. The last chapter in Judges, when you read that chapter, you can see how far cutting people off can ultimately go for the whole nation. But anyway, so again, we were never meant to be by ourselves. And the last thing I'm going to say is this, right? We're talking about restoring relationships and being examples. And I think the example is this, in order to stop the division, right? So this 2 Chronicles 7:14. This is how the Most High look at it, right? If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves, that's one, and pray, that's two, and seek my face, that's three, and turn from their wicked ways, those are four things, then will I hear from heaven. So he's not even hearing us. And will forgive your sin. They go to forgiveness and will heal their land. So it's a lot of work that we got to do before we can expect the Most High to forgive, or each other to forgive us. And I'm not saying that you should go, if you say you're sorry to somebody, that's cool. We should say that, right? But the scriptures are always talking about repentance, which is a physical act. Even when you committed a sin against the Most High, no matter what, no matter if you did it, if you did it on purpose or not, you still have to give up something. So it's a process, and I pray that we all can be patient to in that respect, and as far as dealing with each other, we should be a lot more compassionate towards each other, but it got to be a mutual work that happens. And I think, again, those that's doing the work or that believe in the Torah as the way to go, then, it ain't no long conversation with those people. So, alrighty. With that in mind, that's it. I know this is it's like the longest one we've done, but it's all good. I'm gonna say the next week's title real quick. It's The Enemy Within, Self-Sabotage in Relationships. So that's next Sabbath, The Enemy Within, Self-Sabotage in Relationships. And so I'm sure we'll be going more into the internal things that we do to try to deal with trauma and how that can impact our relationships as well. So anyway. Exactly. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, it is. It's interesting. Okay. All right. Well, until then, y'all have a great rest of your Sabbath if you observe it. If not, have a beautiful week. And until next time, shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom, Mishmichal, Hitrot.